Last week, I, 30 female, was invited to a supposedly fancy party by my longtime boyfriend, Mark, 32. We had been dating for 5 years, and while we had discussed marriage before, there were no immediate plans for a wedding. Excited about the event, I dressed in my best attire and arrived at the designated venue. As I entered the grand hall, I was completely shocked to see all of our family, friends, and acquaintances gathered, eagerly waiting. It turns out Mark had orchestrated an elaborate surprise wedding for us without my knowledge. Everyone erupted into applause as I stood there, shocked and overwhelmed. I just felt a mix of emotions. While I loved Mark and had dreamed of our future together, the idea of getting married without any prior discussion or consent felt like a breach of trust. So I pulled Mark aside and tried to express my concerns and reservations about the surprise wedding. I explained that I wanted a say in the planning process, to be a part of the decision-making, and to have the chance to prepare mentally and emotionally for such a significant milestone in our lives. However, Mark dismissed my concerns, saying that he thought it would be a romantic gesture and that I would be thrilled. At that moment, I faced a difficult choice to go along with the surprise wedding, put on a smile despite feeling unsettled, or stand up for my autonomy and voice my true feelings. I ultimately made the decision not to proceed with the surprise wedding, much to the disappointment and confusion of our guest. Now I find myself at odds with Mark, our families, and even some of our friends who believe I overreacted and spoiled a beautiful moment. However, I firmly believe a marriage should be a joint decision with open communication and shared expectations. Everyone's excuse for this is I've always talked about marrying Mark. And again, the problem isn't marrying him. The problem is not having any say in my wedding. Mark thought I'd appreciate it because I've always spoken about how stressful planning a wedding must be. Yes, I think it's stressful, but I'd still like to plan one. After this whole ordeal, everyone asked if Mark and I were ending things, to which I replied no. I emphasized to them and Mark that I still wanted to marry him, and most feel like this is making me more of an idiot since I just wasted a perfectly fine wedding. So, am I the idiot for refusing to attend my own surprise wedding, even though it was intended as a romantic gesture? Edit. I love surprises. It's a thing everyone has known me to love. Mark knew that I wanted to marry him and said wedding planning was stressful, thought a surprise wedding would be perfect. A surprise engagement is bland because it will always be a surprise, but not a wedding, LOL. He threw this wedding for the surprise, but explained how in a couple of days we could do a courthouse wedding to make it legal, and this was his only way to surprise me. I love spontaneity, but legal marriage or not, I wanted a say in my wedding. To choose the perfect date, to choose my bridesmaids, to pick out my cake. Again, due to these thoughts, everyone thinks I'm an idiot because I could have just gone along with the party and done a redo legal wedding. But again, I felt blindsided and confused, so I left. What the heck did I just read? A surprise wedding? A marriage is a partnership, not an ambush. If he marries you without having to ask, what else would he do with the same excuse? Surprise! I got the new car we talked about. Oh, you wanted to choose the model? Have the full experience? Surprise! I got us a house. We talked so much about a new house for us and the kids. We still have kids, right? Surprise! I called your boss and quit your job for you. Enjoy being a stay-at-home mom to my kids. I exaggerate, but you get where I'm going. Make sure you keep control over your own life. I think the house and car are less egregious than a surprise wedding. I think if he showed up with an adopted child and said surprise, he could one-up himself here. I mean, what we shouldn't be doing right now is giving Mark ideas. Honey, get the heck out of that relationship. You are not the idiot, 100%. I did go to a surprise wedding once. It was great, and she loved it. But you know, they had already been married for 15 years, and it was an anniversary party that she had to organize to celebrate their 15 years. No license required. But a first wedding? And OP, Unless you told your partner you want a surprise wedding, it's ludicrous to expect you to agree to get married on the spot. I'd also ask all my family and friends if they knew about this. Who told this man that this was a good idea? So I, 45 male, have a son, Callum, teen, with my ex-wife, Amanda. We had an amicable divorce when Callum was 2, and so far we've been co-parenting quite well. Now, I could say a lot of things about Amanda's parenting, but the long and short of it is that she and her new husband catered their parenting style to their 2 younger kids together, tween female and pre-tween male. Because of this, he's decreased his time at their house since he got the choice and now spends every other weekend there. Around a month ago, Amanda and her husband made a reading rule for the kids. The pre-tween has to read 30 minutes a day, the tween has to read for an hour, and Callum has to read for 2 hours. I have no idea why they did this. I think it's because the youngest is falling behind in his reading level, and they wanted to keep things fair between the kids. I think that this is ridiculous, as Callum is a very smart kid already, and he needs that time for homework and relaxing, since he doesn't have that much free time. Amanda told me she expected me to enforce the reading rule when Callum was at my house. I told her that I would not. She said it was unfair to Callum's half-siblings, that he could just leave for my house and not follow the rule, while they had to follow it no matter what. I told her, tough luck. It's my house and I make the rules, not her. Now Callum's thinking about not staying with her anymore due to the increasing strictness of her and her husband's rules. She told me that it was all my fault, that he didn't want to be around her anymore because I was so lax with the rules. I'm pretty sure I'm in the right here, but I thought it might be a good idea to get some perspective. So, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. So, how many hours a day are she and her husband reading? They should lead by example, and being full-grown adults, they should be reading for 4 hours per day. To keep it fair. Requiring your kid to read 2 hours a day, on top of required textbook reading and assigned English class reading, seems like a good way to inspire dislike for the hobby. This is ridiculous. 2 hours of reading on top of potentially hours of homework? Every day? She's damaging her relationship with him and pushing him away, and that's sad, but on her. I get reading is great for the younger minds. It's a skill they need to develop. But if the youngest starts falling behind in math, will Callum have to do 2 hours of math worksheets to make things fair between them? Fairness isn't bringing everyone down or holding everyone back to the lowest performer's level. Blanket restrictions for the sake of one child is laziness and favoritism. My wife and I have 2 children, a toddler and a young grammar school-age child. Our older child is on the autism spectrum. It goes without saying that this is a very stressful position, and neither of us gets very much of a break from this. My wife is a stay-at-home mom, and I have a full-time job. As happy as our children make us, it's not selfish for us to both desire breaks. We get them occasionally, but we made a deal to have 2 guaranteed breaks in a year, our birthdays and Mother and Father's Day. On those days, one parent takes the brunt of the burden so the other can get a day to relax. Since our youngest was about 2, we've practiced this. I've never failed to give my wife the day off she deserves. I'll schedule her a spa day or something she really wants to do and get her out of the house so she can relax while I'm on daddy duty. Then when she gets back, our kids give her gifts and cards, and we get a meal from her favorite place after they go to bed. My wife has been less consistent and doesn't really do as much as I do for her. The last year, she hasn't really done anything. I typically try not to hold it against her, as it is undoubtedly hard, but it does feel kind of unfair. I planned something for myself this Father's Day, as she didn't indicate doing something for me. I warned her a week in advance, and she said it was okay. This was until about 3 days ago. My wife's old boss's dad passed away. She was invited to the funeral by the boss, and she chose to attend the funeral, which was about 2 hours away. As a result, I had to cancel all of my plans and take care of the kids. She was supposed to be home at around 5 in the evening, but didn't arrive until about 10. The kids were already asleep, and my wife neglected to help them get even Father's Day cards for me. We got into a huge argument when she got back. I told her that I felt like she really dropped the ball on this and didn't give me a break like I usually do for her. She told me that she's home with the kids all day, just about every day, and I only have to help out after work. As far as she's concerned, I regularly get a break, and she doesn't. I told her work isn't a break and that I was really looking forward to it today. She said that someone died, and I was being completely selfish to make it about me. I said that it was someone she didn't even know, who was the parent of someone she hadn't seen in over a year. I didn't think I was being selfish in asking her to prioritize my needs just as a gesture as I do hers. She's been angry at me since, and we're not talking. Am I the idiot? Edit. She was not close to the father. From what I remember, she did have a good work relationship with her boss, but it's not like they were friends outside of work. You are the idiot. Nobody goes to a funeral for fun. Nobody would willingly choose a funeral to avoid Father's Day. It's a funeral. Everyone's focusing on the fact that it's her old boss's father, but clearly, she felt close enough to drive 4 hours to attend, which you felt was appropriate, and only got mad when she was late getting home. But you know what? It's a funeral, and she drove 2 hours to get there. It makes sense that she'd make the most of it. Funerals are special occasions that can't be rescheduled. I'm going against the grain here, not the idiot. Your wife could have easily gone to the funeral and come home at 5. Perhaps brought dinner, made baths and bed while you relaxed. She should have also helped the kids make and do something special for you. Old boss's dad? In my funeral book, that doesn't really justify leaving the family for an entire day, driving 4 hours and ignoring Father's Day. The funeral was just an excuse to get out of the house. You may have bigger issues than missing Father's Day. Tell your wife you would like a redo. Pick another Sunday for Father's Day. Maybe she'll actually help the kids do something fun for you. This is screaming to me that your wife wants adult time. You get to converse with your colleagues every day. She doesn't. She has you to socialize with. And is that it? Does she go out with friends without the kids? To me, she seemed to jump at the chance to socialize with people she knew and could have an adult conversation with. Seriously think about it and ask her if she's happy being a stay-at-home mom. She may miss working and the social aspect that comes with it. I think this is an everyone's the idiot here situation, but really, you both need to communicate better. My family and my brother's family visited my parents at their vacation house for Memorial Day weekend. I noticed that my normally energetic nephew, teen, seemed very upset about something. I pulled him aside and asked him if there was anything wrong. He told me that his parents promised to buy him the Lego Roman Colosseum. His nephew's a huge ancient history buff, if he did well in school. But when the package arrived, they said he should be a good brother and let his sister, tween, help. My nephew told them that having his sister help was pointless, since she's completely nonverbal and has a habit of kicking things when upset. As a result, my nephew had his Lego set returned for talking back and being disrespectful. After we went back home, I asked my brother if what my nephew said was true. He said that it was. I then asked if my nephew said anything, e.g. calling his sister a vegetable, beyond calling the idea of letting his sister help ridiculous. He said no. I told my husband that I was seriously considering buying my nephew the Lego Roman Colosseum for his upcoming birthday in August, as my brother and sister-in-law were completely ridiculous. My husband agreed that my brother and sister-in-law were being ridiculous, but didn't like the idea of me replacing the returned Lego set. He said I would undermine their parenting and provoke an unneeded conflict between our families. As an aunt, this is what I would do. Buy it and put it in a closet. Give it to him in a few years when your nephew's older and living on his own. If he doesn't want it, you can resell it. If he does want it, it'll mean the world to him. In that future time, it may also open the door to a heart-to-heart conversation about not agreeing with his parents, but recognizing they were acting out of denial of a painful reality. Unfortunately, from what you've described, Your nephew will probably be estranged from his parents in the future. I've seen similar situations in a friend's family, and the denial of disability, ultimately damaged the family. But your husband is right. You are the idiot if you intervene now. The Lego won't change the reality of your nephew's situation. Sorry. I disagree. As an aunt, I would buy it and have it at my house for him. Invite him over for the weekend, just him, and have fun building it with him if he wants the help. I'm the aunt that has purchased extra gifts for my niece and nephew because my brother and sister-in-law decided to let Santa be the parent and use the naughty list to try and control their very young kids. My niece was upset when I asked her if she was excited for Santa to come to her house, and she said he wasn't coming because she was on the naughty list. So yeah, screw that crap. I bought them extra gifts that year, and Santa accidentally delivered them to my house where we were having Christmas. That's what I would do. Give the parents a break for the weekend and have them do it at your house. I absolutely hate when children can't have something for themselves. The worst part of it all, even worse than forcing him to share, is that they essentially went back on their word. The deal was, do well in school, get the Lego set. He accepted and delivered. They did not. Amending their agreement to include your sister or else was a jerk move, a bait and switch. The kid will learn that the parents' words and promises mean nothing. The kid may end up resenting the sister too. Originally, my family wasn't even invited to come, but my boyfriend thought he'd be nice and invited them. I wanted to go to my favorite Moroccan restaurant that does these amazing shared tagine dishes, and it was agreed upon. We decided to make reservations and go. The day my dad and youngest brother decided they didn't like the menu or it was too expensive for them to eat, there was a custom meal for them. I told my mom this was my birthday, and I looked forward to eating there for months, so they could bail if they wanted to. I'm going, and my boyfriend is going. My mom started complaining that we could pick something different for my birthday dinner. I said that's fine if they were willing to pay for my boyfriend, and I could still go to the Moroccan restaurant. My mom called me ungrateful for not accommodating my whole family on what was my birthday. I should have picked a normal restaurant, and this whole mess could have been avoided. I told my mom I didn't even want them there in the first place, but my boyfriend was being polite. My mom called me a selfish witch and refused to get me even a gift now. Am I the idiot for insisting on the food I want for my birthday? I should have picked a normal restaurant? There it is. I grew up in a family like this. I spent too many years of my life having Denny's for my birthday dinner to keep my grandparents happy. Now every year my husband and I get sushi, Indian, or Mediterranean. The spicier, the better. Not the idiot. Your family sucks. God forbid they suck it up for one meal to celebrate your birthday. Do you know what I do when I'm invited to a restaurant I don't like? I eat beforehand, then nibble on something inexpensive and drink water. I'm there for the people. That's what adults do. I'm sorry this is how things played out. How family can mess up even the best laid birthday plans is amazing. It's your birthday. Eat where you want. Your boyfriend was being nice to invite your family in the first place. He's a keeper. My mom called me a selfish witch and refused to even get me a gift now. And you think you're the idiot? She's just given you the greatest gift, the opportunity to not be a part of your life. And OP, if you're able to, I'd recommend taking it. Happy birthday. Enjoy. And next year, tell boyfriend, let's just do us.